From jumping across the entirety of the Imperial City to deleting every enemy in the game with the same efficiency as a console command, there is just about nothing Oblivion's custom magic system cannot be used to accomplish. But it isn't all one-shot die-kill macro spells. There are so many more creative ways to use this system, and many quality of life improvements just waiting for you to tap into them. This is my guide to the best custom spells for any playthrough of Oblivion Remastered. To unlock custom spellcraft, you have two options. You could become an associate of the Mages Guild by obtaining a recommendation from each town's guild leader. This requires you to go on a bunch of quests all over the region, but only two of which have any real combat to them, making it pretty easy to do straight out of the sewer. This allows entry into the Arcane University in the Imperial City, where one altar of spellmaking is located. The other option is to head to Frostcrag Spire, located east of Bruma. Head behind the tower and find a small camp where the key to the building is located within a nearby chest. Then go inside where an altar of spellmaking can be found as well. But it's missing its candles. To replace them, you'll need to visit the Mystic Emporium located within the Market District of the Imperial City and purchase them from Arellan Way for 2 to 3,000 gold depending on how pretty you are. Once you've got access to custom spellcrafting, the limitations of what you can accomplish are extremely high, as in some of your spells will have more in common with Cheat Engine than Magick. Probably the most impactful spell you can make early game is one I like to call Swindle. You'll need to have Fortify attribute and skill unlocked for spellcraft. Activating the Warrior Doomstone southeast of Skingrad will give you both of these due to the power it bestows upon you as an example of how to get them. And third, you'll need Charm unlocked. You get a Charm spell for free added to your book while completing the Mages Guild quests, but you can also purchase one from the Mages Guild in Breville. Start by selecting Fortify Attribute, Personality, and then On Self. Then set the magnitude to 100 and the duration to 1 to 3 seconds. After that, add a Fortify skill to the mix, select Merchantile and On Self, then set the magnitude to 100 with the same duration. Lastly, add a Charm effect with the vector set to On Target instead of Self. Set this magnitude to 100 as well with a 1 to 3 second duration. When you cast the spell at a merchant, you'll fortify both your Merchantile and Personality to the maximum, as well as maximize the NPC's disposition towards you all in one spell. And because time freezes while in the shop menu, the low duration allows us to cast the spell with very little magic leveling. Set the barter to an outrageous price, and enjoy getting the real best prices in all of Cyrodiil for the rest of your days. Additionally, anytime you run into an NPC with trust issues, you can throw this spell at them and immediately get any information you need from them as they suddenly become your long-lost best friend.
Unless you can persuade me of your good intentions, I cannot speak further on this matter.
I love you.
The second spell I like to create, especially if playing a melee-style character, is one I like to call Mending. To make this, you're going to need a bit of Restoration and the Fortify skill option unlocked for spellcrafting. When crafting the spell, select Fortify skill, Armorer, and the Self option. Then set the magnitude to 100, and the duration to anywhere between 1 and 3 seconds, doesn't really matter. Name your spell, and you now have a low-cost spell that sets your Armorer skill to 100 for a few seconds. Just long enough to enter your inventory and repair all your gear with little to no chance of breaking your hammers, depending on your actual Armorer skill and spell efficiency. This also doesn't impede your ability to level the Armorer skill either, so there is no downside to utilizing this very useful quality of life spell. Probably the most impactful custom spell you can make, though, is one I call Mana Surge. To cast it, you'll need either 25 or 50 restoration, and to make the spell, you'll need to have a Fortify attribute in your spellbook, most easily obtained from Doomstones like the Warrior as we discussed, and Fortify Magicka. You can find this spell at the discount spell shop in the Imperial Market District. To make this spell, select Fortify attribute, Intelligence, and Self, then set the magnitude to 100 with a 3-second duration. Add Fortify Magicka on Self with 100 magnitude for 3 seconds. You now have a spell that boosts your Magicka pool temporarily by up to 300, costing nearly no Magicka itself to cast. After casting this spell, you can cast some absolutely ridiculous custom buffs you normally wouldn't have the Magicka to cast. Then, when the spell ends, you just go into Magicka debt. If you need a burst of Magicka to clutch out a fight, it'll also provide you the burst of extra Magicka you need to fire off another spell you'd have needed a potion for. So, it's just generally a great spell everyone can benefit from. If you're a frequent Magicka user, then you'll probably enjoy comboing the spell with a beefy Fortify Willpower spell. If you're more of a warrior type, then you could also use Mana Surge in combination with some crazy endurance, strength, blade, blunt combination to give yourself a long lasting combat buff in the early levels. The combinations and synergies are nearly endless with this one. A really good use case for the Mana Surge spell is setting up a haste spell to chain it with. For this one, we combine an on-cell Fortify Speed and Fortify Athletics with about a 20-second duration and as high a magnitude as we can afford after casting Mana Surge. This drastically speeds up your character's movement speed, great for getting around town, backtracking through dungeons, and great escapes. In the open world, though, there is a better option. For this one, just make a Fortify Speed spell with a 120-second duration and as much magnitude as you can handle based on your skill level and magicka after mana surging. Then set the spell to on touch instead of self. A very common complaint among the player base is that the horses are too slow, but because this spell is more powerful the higher the base speed of the target, just fortifying a horse's speed gets it moving at a nearly uncontrollable pace, and that's without adding athletics to the mix. Perfect for traveling to new locations, or if you're doing a no fast travel playthrough. This next one I like to call Trip. It requires you to have a paralysis spell in your book. You can purchase Debilitation from Ita Rhinus in the Breville Mages Guild, and some skill in the Illusion School will be required. Normally, Debilitate has a very high base mana cost for a 3-second Paralyze, but hilariously, by creating a Paralyzing Touch spell with just a 1-second duration, even a 1-second Paralyze is enough to topple any opponent to the floor for several seconds, and because of how cheap the spell is both in cost and effect, you can do this pretty much as often as you like, and could even eventually upgrade it to have an area of effect as well to crowd control entire groups of enemies. If you don't have the illusion skill for Trip, a fun substitute is going to be what I call the Clumsy spell. To make this, you'll need a small amount of restoration skill and Absorb Fatigue unlocked for Spellcraft. You can pick up the basic version of this spell from the Mystic Emporium in the Imperial City Market District. Create an Absorb Fatigue spell with a 30 or 60 second duration, depending on how expensive you want to make this, with a magnitude of only 5. Casting the spell on an opponent will now cause them to trip and fall anytime they try to sprint or perform a power attack while low on fatigue. This is particularly useful for melee characters, as you'll also be regenerating that fatigue while they lose it, and the enemy is more likely to exhaust themselves against melee opponents. Next, let's talk about the spells that you can create if you want to train magic schools as quickly as possible. In the remaster, experience for magical skills was changed to scale with the amount of magicka actually used in the spell, instead of just the number of uses. This means you can take any school of magic and adjust it to the maximum magnitude and duration that your current skill level can handle to maximize the amount of magicka spent per cast for an optimal experience rate. You can even do this with destruction magic by setting the vector to self instead of touch or target. This creates a spell that damages you, and because you count as a target, this allows destruction to gain levels where you would normally need to hit an enemy with it to gain experience. And that's it for now. I hope you learned a new spell or two for your games and enjoyed my video. If you'd like to see more Oblivion guides and content similar to this, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and comment on the video to let me know that there's an interest in more videos like this one. Thank you to my Ko-fi supporters who help keep the channel going, and thank you for watching till the end. I'll see you next time.